Wean.
How to eat a high-protein breakfast if you don't have time to cook. 6
Okay.
raw eggs and a raw beef brain.
6 eggs and a raw beef brain.
110 grams of protein, 1,100 calories.
Okay. In this video, I'm going to discuss another unusual social media trend I've been seeing. So it is a diet trend that's gotten really popular with guys, I don't know, in the past few years, of people eating raw meat. So I think Liver King made this really big and, you know, did the whole ancestral tenets thing. And there's a bunch of guys that are following suit, which is funny to me because he credited a lot of his testosterone, high testosterone levels and his hormonal levels on eating raw food, and other people have still continued to do it even though he was exposed to be on quite a lot of performance enhancing drugs, but credited eating raw organs and raw beef with those improvements that we now know had nothing to do with that. So there's some guys now that are still doing it and have created quite a following from it, but there's a couple I wanted to focus on today because I think they're particularly maybe dangerous. So let's take a look at these guys. Eating raw brain.
Brains for breakfast? Not just yet. Before we do that, we're going to do this. We got some delicious fruit, eggs, duck fat, smoked duck with raw cheese. This is our coffee, of course, butter and chocolate. A couple eggs.
That's not coffee, by the way.
Fermented milk with raw eggs.
Okay, so kefir and raw eggs
Let's get to this brain.
and raw
Woo.
brain.
Caught it. Chase it with an orange.
Yeah, I know food that I really like to eat. I have to chase it with other foods.
And a little grenadilla or whatever this is called.
Which is really, I don't know, not selling that well. I don't, in my opinion. Let's see. He's got another one here.
It's brain time, baby. Guys, we got a delicious dinner tonight. Of course, a big pile of steak, but some amazing brain, and we're gonna eat it with orange, fresh orange tonight. So let's pour up a
Brain
drink,
and orange
which,
is
of course,
nature's
raw
aphrodisiac.
eggs and
There's
heifer milk.
nothing to support that. Kefir and raw eggs.
Let's dig into our appetizer here. I'm gonna split this into 2 pieces. Look at that. Getting closer. Look at that brain. That is literally a cow brain.
It is literally a cow brain.
Okay, here we go. Let's get a piece of brain. Let's get an orange.
Again, don't like all the foods that you really like. Don't you have to mix them with other foods to make them taste better? That's okay. We got one more. This guy got really, like a bunch of major news outlets picked this up when this guy did this. Wean.
How to eat a high-protein breakfast if you don't have time to cook. 6
Okay.
raw eggs and a raw beef brain.
6 eggs and a raw beef brain.
110 grams of protein, 1,100 calories.
Okay, 110 grams of protein, 1,100 calories, which tell you right there that's a lot of fat. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a few things we need to talk about. And these guys can do whatever they want. You know, it's their health, their diet. Great. If they enjoy it, it doesn't necessarily seem like they do, like with the chasing it with the oranges and all that. But the reason I want to say something about it is because what they're doing is potentially dangerous, and you're just not going to get the benefit from it that you want if you want a high protein diet. So let's first talk a little bit about the risk. Although the risk is pretty low, to be honest, I think one person here on one of these posts actually points it out.
It's brain time, baby.
Yeah, here it is. So this person right here, mad cow disease. So this person's hitting it on the head. Mad cow disease is a type of spongiform encephalopathy, which is a disease that cows get in their brain caused by prions, which is a very unusual little thing. It is a pathogenic protein, meaning it is a protein that can cause disease. It gets into your central nervous system or the central nervous system of these animals, meaning their brain and their spinal cord, and then it causes other proteins to start to fold incorrectly. And misfolded proteins start to cause a lot of damage, which then leads to things like loss of coordination, loss of memory, inability to speak, and eventually always ends in death. So no prion disease is, as of yet, treatable. So that's one risk you're taking from eating any part of the central nervous system, eating a brain, eating a spinal cord. So it's just something to think about. Again, it doesn't happen a lot, but there's no real benefit that you're going to get from a brain that you can't get from something else. Two, cooking doesn't really help that. So to destroy prions, I think you have to cook something at like 900 degrees for an hour. So it'd just be a brick. It'd be, charcoal. It wouldn't be edible. Which is why a lot of central nervous system components like brain and spinal cord are very hard to get your hands on, because a lot of countries have extremely strict regulation on them, because there is this possibility of this really horrible disease. And it has happened. There have been outbreaks in the past. I think in the 90s, there was a big outbreak of what's called mad cow disease, which is this encephalopathy. And, some people were affected by it. And another really crazy thing about it is if you eat these prions, there's a super long incubation period. So you could eat this stuff and then it just sits in your body for years, making this issue with these misfolded proteins until the symptoms start to kind of show themselves. And there's nothing you can do. You're going to die, and you're going to die in a pretty terrible way. So that chance is low, I will say. I'm not going to blow that out of proportion, but it is something that you are putting yourself at risk here. Additionally, the raw eggs. I think everybody knows that when you eat raw eggs, you have an increased chance of getting something called salmonella, which is pretty severe food poisoning. It can be deadly depending on your age. Now, one of these guys, if they get salmonella, it's going to suck bad for days. They're not going to die. They're young, appear to be pretty healthy guys. They could probably survive the severe diarrhea and the severe vomiting for days at a time. It's not going to kill them. But if you're doing this for health or performance gains, then you should know that vomiting and having diarrhea and being extremely dehydrated for days at a time doesn't help any of that. You're not going to put on muscle mass. You're not going to increase performance. You're going to go way back the other way, and then it's going to take a long time, probably maybe a week or so, for you to really, really recover, where you can get back to some level of performance. So that doesn't make sense. Additionally, eating any raw meat, any raw protein, the guy says, Weem on that second one says something about 110 grams of protein. Well, yeah, but if you don't cook it, it's much harder to digest. So if you cook any type of meat, any type of protein goes through a process called denaturization. So when it becomes denatured, it starts to break apart some of the protein structure. That doesn't mean it destroys it. It means it makes it more easy for your body to access the amino acids in it that it's then going to assimilate in your body to help you create muscle tissue, along with a bunch of other things that protein is, necessary for in your body. So if we're trying to increase lean tissue, increase muscle mass, get more protein in our diet, then one of the easiest ways to essentially double the amount of protein you're getting is to cook it if all of your meat was raw. So raw meat, you're going to digest about 50% of that protein. And if you cook it, you digest about 95%. So yeah, he's eating 110 grams of protein, but he's probably only going to get about 55. That's the best guess. Now, if you cook it, he's going to be closer to 100. So cooked protein really greatly increases your feed efficiency. So another reason to not be eating raw meat, as well as, with the raw beef brain, it's not just the prion diseases. It's also any type of bloodborne pathogen or foodborne pathogen that you're going to get from eating raw meat. So that's risky too. And then if we want to look at, what are some other foods? If we want to stay away from the central nervous system, because we don't want to get the prions and risk this debilitating, deadly disease, what could we eat instead? So I pulled up something here. If you're eating brain because you want a lot of nutrient density, I picked up another really good nutrient dense food. So this is beef brain to start off with, so we get a baseline of kind of what we're eating. So for 4 ounces, you're going to get 13 grams of protein and 12 grams of fat. So it's really pretty high fat concentration for that amount of food. What else can we see here? We've got some polyunsaturated fats. That's good. Some omega-3s. We also see really high levels of cholesterol because a lot of cholesterol is stored in your brain. And so you actually have over 1,000%, a little over 1,100% of your daily cholesterol intake in this 4-ounce portion of brain. Again, really small portion of food. However, this seems alarming to some people. You don't have to be super concerned about cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol does not seem to actually increase your circulating cholesterol levels unless you are a chicken or a rabbit. So that's a conversation for a different day, but that's been pretty well proven now that eating cholesterol doesn't typically raise your actual cholesterol levels on a blood test. So that's not a massive concern there, I wouldn't say. Again, we got about 13 grams of protein. That all looks pretty good. We got some B vitamins, which is what we would expect from any animal protein. Pretty high levels of B12. That's good. Now, we do have pretty high levels of choline here. That is something that's going to be unique to brain. There are also pretty high levels of choline in eggs, though, that we could get without having to run that risk. We've got a little vitamin A, almost none. Yeah, so, we've got some good minerals in there, so that's fine. Any organ meat's going to be pretty nutrient dense. But how can we get some of this stuff without running that risk? So I pulled up 4 ounces of salmon. Now, we got 25 grams of protein in the salmon and 8 grams of fat, so significantly more protein than the brain. We also have some polyunsaturated fats, almost the same amount of omega-3s, but none of the omega-6, which we want that higher balance of omega-3 than 6 if we can get it. Low cholesterol levels if that's something you're concerned about. And again, B vitamins, because we have, it's animal protein. It's going to have higher B vitamins in it. Not as much choline, but there is still some in there. Good levels, really good levels of vitamin D. So almost all your vitamin D for the day in this 1 4-ounce portion of fish. And then again, some potassium and phosphorus like we saw in the brain. So why would you not eat the fish? I can tell you why you just wouldn't eat the fish. Additionally, brain's not cheap. So you're going to have to probably get it imported. You're looking at anywhere from $10 to $40 a pound plus shipping, which is extremely expensive for meat. Salmon, not necessarily cheap, but you're probably looking $7 to $15 a pound if you're getting wild caught, which is, I certainly recommend it, that you not eat farm-raised fish because of all the stuff that is put in their feed. But, so why would you eat the brain? Why would you eat the raw eggs? It's not better for you. You're putting yourself at risk for disease. You have lower protein digestion, not to mention, if you look at something like egg albumin, which is, the type of protein you're eating in that egg, if you're eating that raw, you're probably going to end up with pretty severe gas because your body just doesn't digest it well. So why would you do it? Well, you do it to be sensational. You do it to be on Instagram. You do it for follows. You do it for likes. Not because you're trying to help people be healthier. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I know people look at this and some people are desperate to get healthier and they're looking for the magic bullet. They're looking for all these tricks. And so some people think maybe I just need to start eating raw meat. Any diet, let's go back to this dude. Any diet, not him. If you are having to eat better tasting food like an orange for you to be able to get down your main source of protein, you're not going to stick to that unless you're getting paid online to do it, to get likes. And this guy, I guess, blew up on TikTok or something, which is kind of weird. Like, he's got like almost 1 million followers, but he got like 23 likes on a post. Something about that doesn't really add up to me anyway. But whatever, he's doing his thing. Paulie, good luck, dude. Hope you don't get sick. But just wish you knew that, maybe cooking this stuff would be a little better for you. So, yeah, don't just follow these people. Don't follow their diet. If you want to follow it for entertainment, go for it. And I'm not saying don't follow them on social media. That's great, whatever. I'm just saying you don't necessarily have to follow their diet guidelines. It's not, what they're doing is not really beneficial. And this other guy says that he increased his testosterone levels about 300 nanograms per deciliter. He went from 300 to 600 by eating raw meat. What I think is more likely is that he had a really deficient diet to start with, and focusing on eating maybe more meat in general helped him increase his testosterone levels. Again, let's go back to the protein. In a video I made before, I told you all that one of the things that can cause low testosterone levels is not eating enough protein. Well, again, another good reason to cook that food. higher levels of protein in your diet if we're not getting enough leucine. Particularly, that seems to be a real trigger for reducing testosterone levels. So just cook the food. So I get it. These guys are, it's sensational. People are shocked. And so they'll watch somebody eat a brain, but that doesn't mean you need to go do it. And I'm not going to say that these guys are on testosterone or anything. I have no idea. One of the guys looks like he could be, the other one not so much, but I don't know. But again, a lot of these guys get popular because of people like Liver King, and that guy was on boatloads of drugs. So don't go out and think that eating a bunch of raw meat is going to get you jacked and make you look like a mountain man. I mean, hell, I get told I kind of look like a mountain man or Tarzan sometimes. I don't eat any raw meat. So, and definitely no raw eggs. Just stay away from it. It's not worth the risk, and it doesn't make sense diet-wise. I mean, that's probably the reason that we have evolved past our other ancestors, is because we learned to cook. So cook your food. If you got nothing else to eat, then I guess you can eat the brain. But I would stick to other organs that don't run that risk of the prion diseases. Eat meat. It's good for you too. Just regular, muscle meat. And I think another risk here that I'll just say, there are other diseases besides the prion diseases. Like prion diseases also come up in deer. So if you're somebody that hunts a lot, stay away from the brains of those animals too. Chronic wasting disease in deer is a prion disease. And if you're a hunter, you're probably familiar with that. You see these like nasty, scraggly deer out in the woods. They look like zombies. That's a prion disease. And if you eat the brain of an animal like that, you'll end up with the same thing, walking around all scraggy, or probably in a hospital bed, wasting away from that disease that can't be treated. So whatever. Again, watch these guys for entertainment, but just be careful what advice you're getting out there. I don't think these guys have really maybe thought it through. So appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to hear me talk about, do some research on, and look forward to talking to you again next time.